corruption inside every sector. But when it comes to them, they send you. Try investigate efficiency, right? Go talk to Baratans too, cause I done fed up. You done fed up, he done fed up, she done fed up, we done fed up, the people fed up. You're hiding corruption inside the...
Yeah, my name is Jacinti Caldata from Vietnam, and since 1965 I become a voter, and I always place my ex next to the cup, and what they are doing today, I can't take it. So I have no more vote to give to PPP anymore. I'm not going to vote anymore no more. If they have to lose by one vote, they're losing it by data.
Right off the bat, let's start off. It's 12 minutes after 9 o'clock, and tonight it's going to be 1 hour again. And as we get closer to elections time, and we are already close to elections time, mind you, as they say on the quarantine. I don't know about Georgetown or Bartik or Letham or Linden or even Oriala. When was the last time you guys mentioned Oriala and these things? Good night to the folks in Oriala. I got a call from someone all the way in Oriala. And they say, Mr. Ben Chap, we just listen to your program too. You don't say nothing about the people in Oriala. Good night to the folks in Oriala. The folks in New Amsterdam, back in my day, we would say Nyamsterdam, Nyamsterdam, Nyamsterdam. And that's what made it so beautiful, the pronunciation of those villages, Nyamsterdam, Nyamsterdam. Good night to the folks in Nyamsterdam and the folks in Mount Sinai. Oh, yep. And Sheet Anchor, Kanji, and all those beautiful places there. Not to forget the folks in Region 10 and all over. Kokwani, how are you doing? Are you guys ready, Kokwani? Kokwanians, do not be fooled. Do not be fooled by individuals. Go with those you know. And, you know, they oftentimes say that parties have been there for all those years. What have they done? But if you go to Port Morant and you ask the people at Port Morant, next to Port Morant Hospital, whether it's across the street where Rook Mahal Cinema used to be, you ask them, you know, what has the PPP done for them? The answer is absolutely nothing. The best days of their lives were when the PNC, the coalition, and the PNC prior to 1992 were in office. Those were the best days. Look, I can talk about those best days, mind you. If our operator can remove this treason, terrorism, and betrayal, I suppose that the operator is talking about the gold smugglers in Guyana and how they have betrayed Guyana. Again, I repeat, the gold smugglers and how they have betrayed Guyana, and all of the gold smugglers who have milked Guyana, raped Guyana, all of the gold smugglers, all of them who are fighting each other now, going after each other, running after each other, going to Barbados and snitching on each other, and all sort of things. All of the gold smugglers, that's who they are. That's what they are. They have no good interest in Guyana, none whatsoever. And do not be fooled at all, my friends. Do not be fooled at all. U.S. law enforcement agencies do not lie, if you know what I mean. All right, so initially I wanted our operator to, let's see what's going on at GCOM, and let's talk directly to the chairman, yep, not the chief of election, so the chairman of GCOM, a quick message to the chairman of GCOM. And again, sorry about that, guys. Our operator just mischievous. They will be suspended for at least a good 48 hours for that hiccup shortly. But this is Claudette Singh. Yep, this is the real picture we're looking for. And she happens to be the chairman of GCOM. Good night again. That picture earlier was just a mistake. And let me take the time out to just apologize to some of you who may be offended, thinking that our operator put that up there as a reflection of the chairman of the Guyana Elections Commission. Absolutely not. Not at all. But this is the chairman of the Guyana Elections Commission. All right. Good night again. If you're now joining us, my name is Mark Benchap, and good night to every single one of you, wherever you are. Now, we're getting some news if we can remove the chairman of the Guyana Elections Commission for now. Sorry about that. Our operators, something is wrong with them tonight. But good night to Lemon. They're doing a great job. But we're getting news. Remember, we spoke to you guys about the corruption at GPL. Not just the corruption at GPL, the skullduggery and the sexual harassment. Lots and lots of sexual harassment at GPL. And Ravindra Ramlal was removed from his department. I'm told today was his last day. And the files, tick files, was happening there at GPL. Corruption galore, guys. And guess who feel the pressure? The ordinary man, the woman, the ordinary people in Sophia, wherever they are. I don't know. Look, somebody earlier, that person was complaining that I blocked them. If you can't comment, why do you guys blame me? The only set of people we throw in the trenches are the trench crappos. Somebody said Mark keeps blocking. I don't know. Are you talking about me or Mark Zuckerberg? It's got to be Mark Zuckerberg. It can't be me. Our policy here at 107.1 FM, we try to keep the trench crappos away because you know what the trench crappos come here for, right? Distraction upon distraction upon distraction. And that's what's happening. Good night again to all of you, beautiful people, wherever you are. Lots and lots of beautiful people. Tonight, we are going to be joined by, guess who? Amanza Walton this year. She is the presidential candidate of Forward Guyana. And then we have also Apostle Nigel London. Elikas, but Nigel London, both of them, our executive producer has indicated that we should have them on. We want to hear from them. We want to hear from legitimate political parties, legitimate ones. And so bumps starts to raise, the bumps raising, bumps raising, that person knows who he is, bumps raising, it is as though they believe that on this platform, you should only have one set of people. And so when they hear that Amanza Walton this year is going to be on bumps raise, right? Bumps raise. In a democracy, you must be able to hear people's side of it. You must be able to hear that. Tandika's George is saying, I'm biased. Just like that, you're saying that I'm biased. Bias about what? Bias about what? Because you guys support sanctioned people and then I am biased? Oh, come on, give me a break. So Nigel London and Amanza Walton this year is going to be here, right here on 107.1 FM. Bumps. And I didn't see the person when we said earlier, we said bumps raised, right? Again, good night to all of you guys, and that's it. And so I don't want anybody to come and tell me that I'm biased, Tandika or Tandika, whatever. Take that somewhere else, not here, but bias and who bias and whatever. You support whoever you want to support. That's your prerogative. You want to support people who are fighting for themselves to save themselves and not save Guyana. That, again, is your prerogative. That's your business. But don't come here and tell me that I'm biased. Oh, dear, like you are me bumps, 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 raise, right? All right, good night again to all of you guys. Nigel London is going to be here. He's the prime ministerial candidate for the Forward Guyana movement. And also, we are going to be joined by Miss Amanza Walton this year. That's it. All right. So, Tandika Stewart, you could take your candidates to NCN. You can take them wherever you want to take them. And we deal with legitimate people right here on 107.1 FM. So if you bumps raise, that's your prerogative. All right? Take them somewhere else, certainly. All right. So what else is happening in your neck of the woods as we prepare for the candidates? Nigel London, we like him, is already with us. And so we just have to wait for the other candidate who is going to be with us as well, Miss Walton this year, Amanza Walton this year. We want to hear from them as to what are some of their plans. They're out there, they're campaigning, and we want to hear what their plans are as they want to save Guyana, not themselves. They don't want to save themselves from sanctions and charges and all these different things in U.S. Courts and indictments. They don't want to. Some of you are going to wake up. Trust me, some of you are going to wake up, and hopefully soon. All right. I don't think with years of activism and fighting against a corrupt regime, people who have persecuted people who have under the PPP regime that have killed hundreds of people, died under the PPP regime, and all of these things. And I don't think some of those who are saying that I'm biased have that right to point a finger and say that I am biased. I support people who have been there in the struggle and those who have a legitimate right to do what they wish to do, but not people who just jump out overnight and giving false impression that they care about people. No, I wouldn't fall for that trap at all. Maybe that's a reason why our African ancestors were enslaved for 400 plus years, of people who just sold out the struggle all the time. It's not going to happen this time around at all. Some of your bumps is going to be raised, but that's okay. All right. So George Tan is being a bit mischievous. George, good night, my friend. Asim, sorry, Shakur is saying blessings and good to see you, Brother Asim Shakur. We don't know where Amanza Walton Desir, the presidential candidate for Forward Guyana, but we do have London Iliken, the prime ministerial candidate, with us. And, this is a platform we want fair exchange and respect each other. If we get folks from other political parties, it's okay. We will invite others, legitimate ones, on this platform. And so let's agree to disagree at times, but in a very respectful manner. So let's go straight over to I'm looking at so anyways, Claudine Cousin. Good night, Claudine Cousin. All right. Good night again. How are you? Nigel London Ilikem has his political hat on. He's a prime ministerial candidate for Forward Guyana. No stranger to you guys right here on 107.1 FM. Good night to you, sir. How are you?
Greetings to my brother, to those of you viewing and those listening via 107.1 FM. It's a pleasure to be here. Let me say that my sister, as I would see her, is setting up in another location because we were actually just completing some whistle stops here on the ground in Linden. So we try the best, of course, to get here with you. So she is making a significant effort to be here with you before she continues on her way. So she should be with us shortly. But
yeah, thank you so much. What you said that you guys are doing some groundworks and so forth, just to have our listeners know, by now they should know that Nigel London Ilikem is the prime ministerial candidate of Forward Guyana. What sort of work are you guys doing on the ground right now?
I'm loving the fact that we're doing that, which is speaking more to the personal touch, getting in touch with people, meeting them, interacting with them, being quite honest, and not seeking to bust people around the places to give any impression as though we have mammoth gatherings. We're more about having that personal touch. I'm saying I wasn't like this is right here, right? So we're about having that personal touch and reaching our listeners, reminding them about the fact that they have to be very cautious as to why Lenin is such a place of interest and significant interest to the PPP and others, and in what form is the PPP coming into London? I mean, I'm sure we get into that discussion, but that's what we do. The personal touch, we believe in that.
Thank you so much. I noticed you got a little bit nervous when the presidential candidate joined us. You like, oh, I got to hurry up quickly and give the presidential. Good night, Miss Amanza Walton this year. How are you, ma'am?
Hi, Mark. Good evening. I'm very well, sir. How are you?
Quite well, thank you. I'm glad that he showed. He says, like, look, he has to hurry up. He's not usually that quick whenever he's making a point. Yeah, yeah. Good to see you both, though. But tell us, what are some of the responses you've been getting from the people on the ground, not just in Region 10, but other places as you guys move around, um, getting votes or encouraging people to go out and vote? What's the response you guys have been getting?
we, I was saying to the team today how just humbled I am by the response that we're getting. Um, people, look, people want change. And the fact that these newer parties are able to make such a significant impact is indicative of the fact that people really are wanting uh, something different and new. And so Forward Guyana is dedicated to bringing them that credible option. And when we, Nigel talked about the common touch and just talking with people one on one, being able to share with them the spirit of our movement, the reason why we're doing what we're doing, because of course people have questions. Why this? Why did you do that? Why no collation? Why? And so being able to explain and to talk with them and to answer their questions has been the most rewarding experience I've had. Coupled with the fact, Mark, that I would not change for anything the 21 days that we spent on the ground raising candidates and signatories in the regions. To be able to see that from the ground up, I know for a fact that a lot of people in larger parties have no idea how that works. And so, even being able to put that together was such a humbling experience. It was such an insightful experience. And I'm really excited about what the future holds for this movement. I'm touched by the warmth of people. Thank you for fighting for us. Thank you for the way you stood up for us. And we continue to be encouraged by it.
Thank you so much. If you're now joining us, 28 minutes after 9 o'clock, Nigel Elijkum, he's the prime ministerial candidate of the For Guyana movement, along with the presidential candidate, Amanza Walton, this year. I noticed in the audience there's a question, Ms. Simons is asking, will Forward Guyana movement be contesting in all of the 10 regions? And if not, why not?
It's a very good question. And the minimum requirements that GCOM have set out for us to be able to participate nationally is um, a minimum of 6 geographic constituencies or districts. We are competing in 7. We did not raise geographic candidates in 7, 8, and 9, primarily because of the fact that, like I said, we had 21 days to put this all together to raise the candidates, and the logistics of getting to region 7, 8, and 9. Were very, very challenging for a new movement such as ours. And so we decided that we would um, concentrate on meeting and exceeding the minimum requirements to participate nationally. A very interesting point has been raised, and we are in the process of clarifying from GCOM about the participation nationally, because of course their guidance talks about a minimum of 6 regions to be able to participate nationally. And so we are in the process of inquiring from them what their interpretation of that is and what that means. And So that's it. Just the fact that we, as a new movement, logistics and capacity, we were only able to meet 7 districts, which, like I said, um, is one above the minimum that we're required to compete nationally. And Nigel, I'd love for you to make the point that you make about the way the system is structured to prevent newer, numerically smaller uh, parties and movements from actively participating, in the politics. The hurdles are tremendous.
All right. Before we get back, get into hurdles and so forth and so on, I want to touch on earlier. Mr. London Eliakim mentioned that uh, they're not busing people in. We've seen a lot of buses, hundreds and hundreds of buses and taxis, and people just being transported into Linden and given red T-shirts and all these different things. What is your take on that? And when you see that sort of thing happening, specifically in Linden, but not just confined to Linden alone, how does that make you feel, Mr. London Eliakim?
It makes me realize how desperate people are because I'm of the view, it could be the people think that I am, and I hope they do. But I'm new to this, so my thoughts are a bit pure. I'm a neophyte to anything that is. Because to me, if you represent people well, then you don't have to try to be as desperate to present images of success. I tell the fellow Indians when I see them sometimes that I don't have to come to you quite often because you know me. And that should be the posture of every representative of the region. So if you represent people well, I think they'll be asking for you as they're doing with us to say, come to us. We want to see why you're not here. Let's have a problem. I have a problem, want you to solve it. Since people have had the experience. But when people have to be bussing folk around just to have images to say we're very successful, it's quite an unfortunate experience for them. And I would never want to be a part of that because I believe that I should not be anyone who seeks to deceive individuals into thinking that when you have a large gathering, what they perceive to be large, it means that you have got some success. Additionally, we've discovered that the generation, the 67 to 70% generation of the electorate, they are people who live on social media. They live in this space. So when we can find 100,000 people within 2 days, 3 days viewing our various platform accounts, it tells me that there's nobody who's gathered 100,000 people here at any point in time. So the interest that we see on social media is far more than those who try to just bus people around. But it got so bad, Mr. Benshop, that they now have 10-day workers having to wear their PPP shirts. Those who have contracts in schools. Somebody told me today that she has to wear at Bame Primary School. They have to wear the PPP shirt to work. At the bridge, they have to wear PPP shirts. It is that stupid. Sorry, but it's the truth. If it get that desperate, it's a bad thing. But we're not going to do that. It just shows how desperate people are just to appear to be successful. I wouldn't do it, and I'm happy that Foreign Guy movement does not do that.
All right, well said, Nigel Eliakim, London Eliakim. Good night to those of you who are now joining us. We just want to get to the bottom from political parties, the legitimate, in our opinion, the legitimate political parties, their views, their take, their policies. Forward Guyana movement is contesting just the minimum amount that is required by GCOM. And this brings me to the question, what exactly is Forward Guyana movement expecting to achieve, going at it, so to speak, alone and not in a broader or a bigger coalition? What do you guys intend to achieve?
Well, it's interesting because the Forward Guyana movement is a coalition. It's a coalition of three movements that came together and decided to contest these upcoming elections because I will go to Forward Guyana, and then we will come forward to the Forward Guyana movement, which is a coalition of the People's Movement led by Nigel London and VPAC led by Dorwin Best, and of course Forward Guyana, myself. I will say this, and I say it without apology, because I have sat and I have looked and I've listened, I've heard the attacks, I've heard the snide comments, I've heard all of the remarks. And I will say this, that at the end and the starting of the day, as a person, you have to decide what you stand for and what you believe in. And that has to be your North Star. Not what is popular, not what is convenient, but what is purpose and what is calling as far as you as an individual believe. And I will say this, that I have been in Parliament for the last 5 years. I've worked in government and administration for over 20 years. And the last 5 years have indicated to me very, very clearly that the system is broken. Because I've said it ad nauseum and I will say it again. People love when you stand up and you give eloquent speeches. And of course, when I was in the APNU, oh, she was firing them and she was tearing their tails and give them it good and so on and so forth. And what changed at the end of the day? Absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing changed because the paradigm has been you will have your say and we will have our way. And at a personal level, Mark, I was not prepared to dedicate more time to a system that I know is broken. I decided instead to lend my voice to becoming the change that this country needs. And people will some listen, for every one person that has a bad thing to say, we've met 10 that have said, thank you for stepping out. Thank you for showing the leadership that is required to lead us out of this morass. And so I am quite at peace with the decision that I have made. I'll be say, oh, you should have waited and bided your time. The problems that Guyana has isn't waiting. The change that we need doesn't stand in line whilst we play musical chairs with people's lives. And so for me, if you want change, you have to be the change. So I am completely at peace with stepping out from an institution, an established institution. Like I've said, the only political home that I've known to do what I believe in my heart is important, not for me, but for this country. And we're proud of the work that we're doing. We are committed to fighting the tyrant that is the PPP, that has been allowed to run amok in this country, that has been allowed to engorge and enrich itself on the riches of the people of Guyana. And so we have no apology for taking the route that we are taking, because we have been trapped in a cycle for 60 years, Mark. And I'm so glad you asked me this question, because I want people to understand that if we remain locked in this two-party system, the only people that will suffer are Guyanese. Because whether we like it or not, this country is in a state that it has never been before. We've had more money than we've ever had before. And the reality is that when APNU is in government, half of the people feel left out. And not only half of the people feel left out, these are the people that control a lot of the economy. And so they literally shut their purses and slow down the economy in protest. And then, of course, now that the PPP is there, they're wicked, they victimize, and so some half of the population always suffers under this arrangement. So what do we do? Do we sit down and perpetuate that cycle, or do we develop the courage to say, you know what? I love APNU. I absolutely love the people there, but this is not going to work for Guyana. And I'm very, very clear. And so for all who talk about waiting turn, independence would not have existed if Burnham had waited his turn. A lot of the breakthroughs that we've had would not have happened if people were told to wait their turn. So I want to be very, very clear that I have zero apologies for it, because it is the right thing to do. It is hard, it is uncomfortable, but it is necessary. And so we don't do only what is convenient, because convenient would look like staying under the shelter of an institution, going back to Parliament, giving fancy speeches, possibly getting a duty-free concession, and running around as an MP and enjoying a title. That is not what I'm here to do. My loyalty is to the people of Guyana and to this country. over any party. And I have no apologies for it. If Obama had sat and waited, a lot of people said, oh, he was too young and whatever else and whatever else. We see the result of him stepping up to the plate. So, Mark, thank you for asking that question, because it was very, very important that that be said and it be clearly understood. So what we want to do is bring the message that, listen, we are the generation that are going to stand up and say this system has to change. We are the generation that are going to stand and say, look, this duopoly that continues to exist can no longer serve Guyana. And unless we find a system, a political system that facilitates a multi-ethnic, multicultural, multiracial society such as ours, we are doomed to becoming second and third class citizens in our own country. Because you know why? We will continue to be pitted one against the other. And whilst brothers fight below here, foreigners come and inherit our land. So
If you stick a pin, we'll get back to that in terms of inheritance of and who getting the wealth of the nation. I noticed that there's a comment I think I saw earlier that you spent practically all of your life. You spoke about your grandparents being PNC, your parents being PNC, you were taken to PNC meetings and so forth. Before we get to Mr. London Elikin, I want to ask you this particular question. Do you think, after speaking in such a glorifying way about the party that has been able to mold you, that folks have some sort of justification in saying that you've betrayed the PNC? I mean, that's not my take. That's what some people are saying. So here's your chance, Miss Amanza Walton Brazier, to address specifically that briefly.
And you know what? Thank you for that question, because it was a very, very difficult decision to make. Because it is true, and I've said it, I have admitted it. It's the only political woman I've known. My grandparents served, my father served, my mother served. It is important also to realize that in all of this, I have taken a particular posture. Because I will say without apology that my loyalty is to the country of Guyana above any political party. And I owe my loyalty to the people of Guyana. And so I really have no qualms about saying very, very clearly that I am a product of the teachings that I have had at the feet of the PNC. But there comes a time when you have to decide within yourself what is it that you stand for and what it is that you want to do. And for me, my loyalty, because when I stand and I take the pledge, it is I pledge myself to honor always the flag of Guyana and to be loyal to my country. And so that is my raison d'etre. That is the reason why I do what I do. So this is not a betrayal of anything that the PNC stands for. I'm very clear in my own mind what and who the opponent is in this. And it is the People's Progressive Party, Civic. It is the raping, robbing, and plundering of this country. And I'm also clear in my own mind that the fact that we were able to go in and to raise candidates, the fact that WIN has been able to go in and raise candidates is indicative of the desire of the people of Guyana for something else. And so take up the quarrel with the people of Guyana. The fact that they are responding is telling you that they want something else. How dare you sit and say this is what you will have? Pick a team, red or green, and you stick with it and you shut your mouth. And that is the paradigm and the mindset that I refuse to be shackled by. Because like I said, I'm very clear. My loyalty is to the people of Guyana. And when we get up in the morning, we get up to serve the people of Guyana.
All right. 45 minutes after 9 o'clock. Thank you so much for the response. Just a quick note. You mentioned Obama earlier. As you would know, Obama fought for the presidency to become the presidential candidate under a democratic system, under the Democratic Party. And some people may say in the audience, he did not go out and form his own party, but he fought from within. And I noticed you smile there, Miss Walton Desir. But we'll leave that smile for later. We'll go
No,
to
Mark, no, it's I'm glad that we're having this conversation. I am glad that we're having this conversation because this is precisely the type of discussion that we need to have. This is precisely the type of discussion that we need to have, and I'm thankful for the ability to clear it up and to hear from people, because listen, I've heard all kinds of rumors. I have heard that I wanted the presidential candidacy. I have heard.
but wait a minute. I recall in the quarantine there were lots of rumors. People go back down, the thief coconut, and rumors, and some of those rumors were true. Some of those rumors were true. Are some of those rumors true that you wanted the presidency to become the presidential candidate, and because
Oh,
you didn't get what you
absolutely
want?
not.
No, no,
Oh
mind you,
no,
I don't want
listen,
the rest of this interview.
Mark,
One second,
Mark.
I don't want
No,
the
but
rest of
have
this.
you clear it up? And
One
have you
second,
clear it up?
please.
Because it
I do
depends
not
on
want the
who.
rest. One second, please. I do not
Uh-huh.
want the rest of this interview to this and that, but I want to hear about the policies that you guys may have. But go right ahead to clear that up. You wanted that or nothing. And because you did not get it, you
Apparently,
walk out. You
yes.
broke up and walk
Yes,
out.
I
Talk
have
to us.
heard that too. I have heard that too. And nothing could be further from the truth. And I have said very, very clearly. And the reason that I could do this with a very clear conscience is because I have said very, very clearly my reasons for what I've done. They are in writing. The leader of the APNU has them. All right. So I am happy to be able to put that to bed and to rest. Has nothing to do with any of that. Has absolutely nothing to do with any of that. And so thank you for the opportunity to clear that up, Mark. And I'd be happy to tell you about the policies that Forward Guyana has, because, like I said, one thing we are laser focused on is who the enemy of this nation's soul is, and on doing our part to make sure that the raping and the plundering and the pillaging of this nation stops. Anybody else wants to be involved in any side wars, etc.? Sorry, we can't help them. We are laser focused on what we have to do to bring a decent life to the people of Guyana.
All right, 48 minutes after 9 o'clock. Thank you very much for that, clearing that up. I hope some of you in the audience will get the message by now. But let me just say to some of you, um, please be respectful of our guest. I noticed someone earlier referred to Mr. London Eliakim as a Charandas Jew, and it's uncalled for. Please do not do that, because there's nothing about Nigel London Eliakim that would suggest that he is anywhere close to a Charandas. If we can be respectful, I know some of you support your political party, fair enough, but be respectful. If you disagree, please do not address the guests as Guan from Hegyal and these. Do not do that, guys. Okay, please do not. Mr. Nigel, as you guys go around selling your policies, what are 5 things that you guys want to ensure that if you were to get into the corridors of power to be able to change, to make Guyana a better place?
Sure, I appreciate that, and I would really love to know why the person sees me as Chanda. That's good. I've never heard that one. That's the first. That's the first to me. Um, one would be the constitution in itself. Our constitution, as it is not suitable for the nation that we see today. The fact that Ford Ghana movement would have had to experience what we did is indicative of the reality of the constitution being incapable of serving Ghana as we know it. Meaning that if someone is in Region 1, uh, known in the community, known as for one who represents pretty well, why in the world would anybody in GCOM think that that person has to have 5 other regions, hundreds of other people, but that one person to represent his or her region? It's ridiculous. For me, it's undemocratic, it's unrealistic, and it's just a system that's in place established by two parties to ensure that nobody has the ability to rise and do that which is possible. It should be to represent the region as an individual. That's one thing in the Constitution has to be changed. Additionally, the system of GCOM in itself is a disaster. There's no way that we should have three commissioners from one side, three are from the other side, and a chairperson of a part of the fourth commission for the PVP in my eyes, and that's just a personal view based on how she voted. Those things should not ever happen in our country again. More so, the bleeding, I call it, and of course, our presidential candidate spoke to that, of our resources, the pillaging, the fact that we can have for every 1,000 meters of road, I'm saying this until Barajagda gets mental diarrhea. Something is wrong with us as a people. When we can see 1,000 meters of asphaltic surface and know in our minds that that would cost us $412 million more than other territories around us, something is wrong. Where does the money go? When we have got a gap reference efficiency for every dollar spent in this country, for every dollar spent, 41 cents, they kind of count for it. Somebody gets it, somebody buys a house. Of course, it's multiplied. Those things we have to stop. Additionally, Guyana must be for Guyanese. Guyana must be for Guyanese. It pains my heart to hear someone say that they cannot do anything to ensure that Guyanese businessmen are able to thrive in this environment. We must have a society whereby Guyanese are protected, our interests are protected, and that we see Guyanese thriving again. The other thing we'd love to know, I've lost count, but I'll continue nonetheless, is our education system. The fact that we have someone paid to be Minister of Education, as I classify Priya as, she's never spent a minute in a classroom. Okay, fine. But Priya Manik-Chan is an absolute failure, has been. I call her the fire minister because wherever the fire she shows up, that's what she does best. The education system is ridiculous. A teacher told us today that but over 4 years, you have about 2 or 3 curriculums. They try everything. It doesn't work. Let's try something else. Let's try this. Let's try that. It's just crazy. The education system in Guyana, the fact that people could speak to this woman can stand to say, listen, you're the 1%. Why must everyone think the best 1%? What's a top school and what's a bottom school? Because if you have a top school, there has to be something at the bottom. Our children must not be exposed to that. We believe in For Guyana movement that we should have schools that are suitable, that are the best across the board. So it doesn't matter where you are in this country, you must have equal access to education, equal access to quality teachers, equal access to ideas and the ability to learn in environments that suit that match that of others. So those are some of the things we're speaking to. And more so, housing, Mr. Benchtrap. When I look at a janitor or some, and I don't demean the job, I'm just saying in reference to the pay grade. A janitor, for example, why must that person believe that they could never own a home in this country? Why? Because the likes of Susan Regis came to Linden to tell somebody that they have to pay $2 million for a plot of land in Linden that's undeveloped. That's criminal. We believe that no Ghanaian should pay for a house lot, not one of you. It's our land. And I don't like the term squatter. What's a squatter? It's our land. We are going to advocate for every Ghanaian to own a house. 3%, that's all you have to find, 3%. And if you can't find it, you have a means through a housing planning facility, a program where you're able to have conversations with us, with people to help you. We believe that Guyanese must not have to wait 10 years for a house lot. It's ridiculous. So those are some of the immediate changes. And finally, I must say, Bara Jagdio, Irfan Ali, and all of y'all, there'll be a special jail bill for you. That's just my view. That's what I would love to see. They must have to work, and we'll take back everything that you stole from our country, because it would not go down like that. It would never go down with them being able to rob us and then just go quietly into that midnight. No, it wouldn't happen. They'll have to give account to us for what they took.
All right, you heard there, but before a question just popped up in my mind there for Ms. Amanza Walton this year. If, let us say, on September 2nd, after all the votes have been counted, and we hear the announcement is that Amanza Walton this year has become the next president of the Cooperative Republic of Guyana, what will you do to correct, according to majority of the citizens of Guyana, correct this sort of contract that Guyana has with ExxonMobil? What will you do with that contract?
The first thing that we will have to do, Mark, is to increase our capacity to manage the oil and gas sector. So from day one, what you're going to see is strong institutional arrangement being put in place to be able to do that. It is not acceptable that our oil sector is run by a three-man team, one of whom happens to be Barrett Jagdeo of Sioux fame. It does not augur well for this country. So step one has to be implementing the institutional framework to manage the sector. What does that look like? It looks like a petroleum commission to have regulatory oversight of the entire sector, separate and apart from political direction. The problem with the oil sector is that politicians want to run it. It should be a technical function reposed in a technical organization such as a petroleum commission. The next thing that you will have to do is to have a large international law firm on retainer, along with investment bankers, and of course, a cadre of engineers and technical people. People bandy about, oh, renegotiate the contract, as if it is something that you could sit at the table and do when there is not a whole raft of interventions that are required and needed, and a whole raft of skills that the country right now does not have. So that will be step one, to recruit and to ensure that we have the technical capacity to match Exxon once we get to the negotiating table. And get to the negotiating table we will, because the renegotiation of any contract is natural as that contract evolves and as situations and circumstances change. So our focus has to be, one, on improving our capacity to manage the sector and to even think about renegotiation. And then secondly, what are we doing with what we have now? And that has to be the focus. Because if we're getting 10 cents now and we're not managing it well, when you get 20 cents, what is going to happen?
To
So,
see the contract renegotiated, if you were to take that to the table at ExxonMobil, apart from the mismanagement that we're seeing right now in the oil sector by the PPP regime and the corruption, billions of dollars not get into the ordinary folks. But were you to sit at the table directly facing ExxonMobil executives, what will be your suggestion for a renegotiation of the current contract?
well, as the president, I would not do that, because there will be people who are tasked to do that. And that has been the problem that we have in this
No, no, but
country.
what will be your
All right,
government's take on the
I'm
renegotiation?
no, I'm getting to it, but I want it to be very clear that there will be people who are technically capable of doing that and will do that. From a policy point of view, you look at what you have now. So you talk to Exxon about things like increase CSR. How do you increase your corporate social responsibility within the parameters of what we have? Because, Mark, it may not be the popular thing to say, and I know Jagdeo was screaming for renegotiating the contract when he was in opposition, and then he got into government, and it was a completely different situation altogether. Sanctity of contract is important. If people come to this country and they invest, it is reasonable and it is legal and lawful for them to expect a return on their investment. And so I truly believe that what is required here is to approach this as understanding that these are developmental partners with Guyana. And once you come with that paradigm, then I believe that you are able to negotiate a raft of measures to make sure that Guyanese get far more than they are currently getting right now.
Do you think the Gas to Shore project will be improved under your presidency? And what is your take on that current negotiation?
Look, we were very clear in the National Assembly about the approach that this current government has been taking as it relates to the gas to shore. And those concerns have been borne out. It is stalled right now. And that is as a direct result of management or the lack thereof. The biggest issue, and I will repeat it, we have with the oil sector is the management of it. Mark, we are not the only people to ever produce oil. This is something that has been done around the world. And what we should have, and what our posture should be as a government, is to make sure that we are learning the lessons that we need to learn so that we avoid making those mistakes. And we are pell-mell down the road of making the mistakes and not learning from the mistakes of others. Already we are seeing signs of the Dutch disease. Already we are experiencing signs of the oil curse. And so management is the watchword, has to be the watchword when it comes to managing the oil sector.
All right, we move over to Nigel London Elijkum, the Prime Ministerial candidate of Forward Movement Guyana. Let's touch on human rights issues and the massive amount of persons who have had their human rights violated, people who have been killed extrajudicially. We're not seeing any sort of justice. Nobody's being held accountable. The government of the day seem to be condoning these acts of violence and extrajudicial killing and state-sponsor killings and so forth. What will your administration, sir, do to rein in these murderers who are still walking and living a life as if they just don't care? What will you guys do under a forward movement government?
Well, I'm happy to ask the question because I would like to believe the Guyanese have seen my position on this. They've seen our position on this. They know exactly what we stand for, what I've been calling for, which is to hold people who would have done this accountable, and not just those at the lower end of the table. So, for example, if a policeman would have shot as he would have done Kian Fajane, or Mandel stood in front of the hotel and lied in reference to the Guyana situation, I do not believe that we would go just to Mandel. No, it has to be who give you the instruction to do so. Who instructed you to shoot at this person? Who told you to lie? Why did you do this? How high up the ladder did that instruction come from? And as high as it goes, they would have to be held accountable. And so what we need in this country would be independent bodies who have the ability and the power to recommend. Again, it speaks to technocrats to some extent. People with the ability, they may not be here. We have to find a source from overseas. But we must have Guyanese reassured that anyone who played a part in being unjust in reference to violating your human rights, they must be held accountable in accordance with the law. And should the law have to be amended, we would advocate for that, for there to be more stringent measures so that no police officer will believe that he has the right to just listen to somebody tell him, shoot that guy, and he just lifts the gun and shoot him. So the Guyanese must have confidence again that they will be safe, but not just safe, but there'll be recompense on the part of those who did the evil to them. And so the likes of those who believe they can pick up a phone and call to say that you should shoot somebody, well, you have to give account for it. And that's why I speak so directly in this confrontation, man, because I mean it with all of my heart, man. There'll be no one in this country who believes they can escape. Even if you go to another country, we shall find you, because no Guyanese life must just be snuffed out on a politician or some friend of these things that you can just escape with it. And so we believe that there are those who would have hidden under the cloak of being a friend of someone or brother or sister or relative of someone. Those days are coming to a very abrupt end. And they would end should Forward Guyana movement be made to have leadership of this country, because we will find you at all costs. And I'm speaking as a father in reference to the Guyana situation. We shall find you. You will not escape at any point in time.
All right,
you'll be
thank
found.
you. Yeah. Thank you so much, Nigel Elijkum. Before we head back to the presidential candidate, Ms. Amanza Walton Desir, I noticed a question there, and I suspect the person is being mischievous, but in a good sense, so to speak, but I'll still ask the question. They want to know your position because other parties have met with the SASOD, representation of the LGBTQ community. They know that you have taken a position in the past about that. You have ruffled some feathers within that community. What is your take now that you're wearing a political hat and expecting votes from every Guyanese? What is your take on the LGBTQ community?
I like the way you've asked the question. What is your take now that you're wearing a hat? It doesn't change what I stand for. What may change is my responsibility, not my position on the matter. I still disagree with the lifestyle because it's my right to do so. Nonetheless, if I were elected to be the prime minister of this country, then I will obviously be a public servant, and that would have to include service, being of service to all Guyanese. However, my personal conviction does not change. Likewise, they have theirs. They have a right to have their personal conviction. What is non-negotiable to me, and I'm sure to Forward Ghana movement, is where you come to tell me that a child, a 10-year-old, must be protected and more so encouraged to engage in this lifestyle. That is non-negotiable. If you come with that, you go to jail. That's child endangerment. So we're not going to play that game. But as an adult, if you want to have a conversation regarding that matter, the machineries in law, in the Constitution, that affords you the right to appeal, to say, listen, I feel as if my rights are being violated. And then, of course, you can act the nation because law is there to serve the people. So if any Guyanese believes that he or she's being disenfranchised for whatever reason, let's approach the population, let's approach the law to say, okay, if you believe that there's some law that is disenfranchising towards you, then let's have a referendum. I've asked for this. It's amazing. I've said to these people and this group of people, listen, let us go to the public and ask of the people because there's a law that you don't know. So let's go to the people to have this address. You know what they said? No. So what am I supposed to do? If I tell you, let us go to the people. No, let's not do this. So where do you want us to go? Okay, then. You left through representation. So maybe you can have the parliamentarians who represent you or who may have some degree of understanding in reference to what you do. Let's ask them to do this. They said no. So what do we want then? What is it they really want? But to answer your question, don't be afraid. If I'm a public servant, I understand my responsibility. Nonetheless, I have the right to express myself. No creature on this planet takes that right away from me. Neither do I allow them not to do it.
All right, so I have a question as we deal with other issues as well, but this is still within the LGBTQ community. Recently, I heard Dictator Jack Davis said a big no to same-sex marriage. What is your take, Ms. Walton Desir, on same-sex marriage in Guyana?
I think we've been very, very clear that this matter is a deeply cultural, deeply societal issue. And it is something that the people of Guyana must weigh in on. You see, I'm very clear about one thing. The Constitution says that sovereignty belongs to the people who exercise it through their duly elected representatives. So when I stand there, I don't stand there in my own right. If I'm elected, I stand there as a result of the wish of the electorate. And so my own view or my personal view is immaterial when it comes to representing the people. So I am very, very clear on that. This is an issue that all and sundry know that it runs deep culturally, it runs deep in terms of people's religious beliefs, and therefore it is for the people of Guyana and the society at large to determine what they want. And what they want, they have the ability to demand it of their representatives. And if the majority believe that this is how it ought to go, then that is politics. That is the way it will go. And these are just things that we have to accept. Bar Jagdeo has stated his position. Who is coming out to drag him across the coals? Nobody. So let us be very, very clear that it's the people of Guyana that is going to decide this. Forward Guyana is committed. We will not tolerate discrimination against any person. But this is
What
a question that the people of Guyana have to determine. It is not a question that is new. It is a question that has been with us from time immemorial. And I believe that the people of Guyana must decide. And that's
All
my
right,
answer to that, Mark.
10 minutes after or 9 minutes after 10 o'clock, I want to take a draw out from both of you. And one draw, as Rita Marty said in that song, one draw. The issue of marijuana in Guyana. Politicians during elections times, they make promises that legalization of small amounts of marijuana in New York, New York, I think it's a pretty large amount that if a cop finds you with, you don't go to jail. In Guyana, people are in jail right now. Their brothers and sisters in jail, languishing in jail for a very small amount of marijuana. What is your take on the marijuana issue in terms of the legalization of small amount? Miss Amanza Walton is here.
In fact, Mark, thank you. Look, CARICOM and a number of bodies have done exhaustive and extensive studies that recommend the decriminalization of the possession of small amounts of marijuana. So the studies are there. This is not something that requires rocket science. Jamaica, for example, has done that. Look, we have to study the evolution of this industry. And right now, in some countries, this is an industry that is earning billions and billions of dollars. I am not the one saying it, this is the reality. And so at some point, we will have to confront the reality that the laws on our books are archaic and have to be changed. And so, this is why you have studies, this is why people do research. And it is clear that that is the recommendation. So, for us, I think we would love to follow the studies, we would love to follow what the science continues to say about this.
Mr. London, you like him? Your take on legalization of small amounts of marijuana?
I would I would speak to decriminalization of it because of the fact that the Rastafarians are a group of people who've been discriminated against for quite a long time. And it's unfortunate that this group of Guyanese, they're the only group, as far as I'm aware, who can be imprisoned for seeking to plant that which is connected to their religion. Um, and that has to be addressed because a man in this country has the right to practice his religion, so does a female. I don't believe that someone who, or we, I should say, would never subscribe to Guyanese being made to suffer in jail for a few grams of a plant. I mean, let's invest that energy in those who deal with cocaine and stuff that destroy people's lives. But the science behind marijuana and the science behind the medical benefits of the same to some extent must be considered. And that's why I speak to decriminalization of it. It's something that has burdened me for years. When I go to New Amsterdam, because I live there, I live just by in the area of the prison, Esplanade Road. I always remember as a boy seeing so many prisoners and sometimes talking to them, why are you in jail for marijuana? And I couldn't understand, a plant is such an issue in the country. It had a lot to do with how we were indoctrinated and what laws were given to us and what laws were retained. And so I would honestly advocate for that conversation to take priority more above many others, because no Guyanese should be held in jail, in my view, for a plant that is attached to their religion. So that's one thing. That's very important. It doesn't mean everybody show up tomorrow and say, I'm a Rastafarian, but it's something we have to consider, and we're always open to it. Mark, honestly speaking, what I love about Amanza Walton, Zermis, and Lauren Best and others, for the Ghana movement, the culture that we have created is that deceiving people is not what we do. So we're not going to sit here to try to say something that sounds nice just for you to vote for us. It is what has hurt us for 60 plus years, almost 60 years. We're going to be honest with you. We'll have an honest conversation with you, and let us take it where it has to go, including the uncomfortable conversation. I'm uncomfortable with marijuana, not as a preacher. It sounds strange to people because it's the plan that Yahweh has made. What makes it evil? Who said it was evil? Who said it's bad? Why must Rasta suffer because of it?
I notice, and it's just not confined to Rasta. I am almost certain that a lot of parliamentarians and politicians, not just in Guyana, they take a draw. They take a draw. Now, as we move away from that, a lot of folks in the audience, they seem to agree on one thing. All of them agree on it. Free up the herbs, free up the herbs. Some of them are getting excited because of that. And I do believe, I'm not a lover of marijuana. I've never tried it in my entire life. As an old man, I'm getting old too. But I do believe, because of my experiences within the system there, if you know what I mean, that a lot of people, young people, wrongfully incarcerated because of just a small amount. And people do deserve that second chance. You don't criminalize people because of a little amount of ganja and so forth. And when the big drug pushers, like the drug lords with tons and tons of cocaine, they're running around Guyana as free as a bird. But let me get to the question with regards to lots and lots of crimes in Guyana. Women are being slaughtered at the hands of their partners, killings in the country. We haven't had the death penalty for quite a long time. What is your position, Miss Amanza Walton Desir, on the death penalty? Are you for it or against it?
I'll tell you what I'm for. I'm for a system that allows us to not even have to get there in the first place. That is what I'm for. I um I truly, truly believe that this system is broken and has to be fixed. Look, we live in a society where there's so many pressures, and it feeds back into exactly what we were talking about earlier, Mark. Why it is important that we fix this broken system. Life in Guyana is difficult. And this is not excusing anything or anybody, but it is an acceptance of a reality that people are barely managing, people are barely coping, people are barely able to feed their children, people are barely able to make it in this country. And then mental health and mental illness has been such a taboo for so long that we are now beginning to scratch the surface of the fact that people need support. We keep losing our women to violence. We keep losing our men to rage and ruin. And so the issue is not whether they deserve to be put to death or whether the death penalty is there. The energy has to be on how do we fix those stressors in society that lead to this type of behavior in the first place, that lead to maladjusted people lashing out violently, etc. So we have to move away from um, trying to close the barn door before the horse, after the horse has bolted from the stables. And that, to my mind, is what the death penalty debate is about. How about we fix it, ameliorate it before it even gets to that point? So my energy is always going to be focused on pulling people back from that point. How are we giving Guyanese a quality of life? How are we ensuring that Guyanese have peace, stability, that they can look forward to growing and thriving in this country? Those are the important questions. And as long as we begin to address those social issues, as long as we begin to address those psychosocial issues, as long as we begin to address those quality of life issues, the research is clear. You will see a particular result in terms of our social interactions. And so that is where I believe our energy has to be placed, Mark.
All right. I'd like to pose that same question to Mr. London Eliakim. For some reason, that little smile on your face tells me that you probably want to hang them high, or you want to go a route to find out how they get there. Hang them high or not? Death penalty or not, sir? Go ahead.
I think that we have some rehearsal here as to how we function. Um, should the 2nd of September come and you hear that Amanza Walton, Zero Nigel London have been given the mandate to lead this nation. And what I love is the fact that we have the ability to have ideas that may be different, sometimes similar, but how we express them. The conditions are all important. And to what our presidential candidate said, there should not be a rush to justice because that ends it. And we have many cases whereby DNA has proven people to be innocent. And so if we rush to just pull the leaf on the gallows and discover somebody's innocent, then how you cannot reclaim that life. So caution must be taken. However, the person, because you asked a personal question here, it depends on the circumstances surrounding that which was done. And I'll share this with you. If a politician, for example, uses his or her office to rape torture, terrorize, and kill Guyanese people just because you have the power to do it, you must not live. Because you've used that power vested in you to do these things. If a politician is known to have been found to be involved in the death of 1,400 Guyanese, why must you be breathing? I would never agree as a person to feed you for the rest of your life because you've utilized that power that you have for ill gain. But on the other hand, there may be somebody who, because of mental ailment, because of some issue, they would have gone on that limb. We must therefore not rush to do things. And especially when it comes to the cases whereby they murder, something like that effect, there must be absolute proof. And then again, the population has a right to say. But on a personal basis, I honestly believe, like, of course, I refer to as my sister, sorry, but I do that because of the bond that we share and the passion we share for our country. Um, I do not believe in just snuffing somebody's life out. It could be because I was such a terrible person. I was a bad guy. Most people don't think, but I was terrible. And I know that the ability to change through divine medium because of my faith is always there in some. So give someone an opportunity to be different. Give them an opportunity to be reformed. But there's some people who I believe in my own heart, they should have to pay for that which they've done to human beings. My view, before you end, is if an adult would look at a young girl and murder her. I'm a father here. In my heart, you have a lot to do to escape the death penalty because it takes an animal to do that to a female. Those are the things I speak to with such passion. You must not escape. There's no way that the life of our children must be trivialized and people can just escape with it. So there are things that would require the likes of our presidential candidate maybe sitting with me and we have conversations to say, well, as a mother, and that's why I think we can function so well in reference to our office. You know, as a mother, and as a female, I know that I know you want to start the whole world, but calm down, think about this. How about this? And that's what I think would be healthy for Guyana. The very fact that Amanza and I have got different personalities, but yes, we can process on that level.
I think, Nigel, you make such an important point, because I believe that people believe that coalitions mean that you agree on absolutely everything.
Yeah.
And the beauty about what we have is that we may have nuanced perspectives on
Mhm.
issues, and we were able to sit, we were able to discuss it, and we are able to bring truth as we see and understand it to the people. And that is something that I deeply, deeply value. I do not I do not subscribe to this school of thought that the coalition must agree on every single thing. For us, what we agree on is far more than whatever we may have disagreements on. And I think that is what people have to bear in mind when they talk about coalition. If we had agreed on everything, then we would have been one party and not a coalition of parties. And I think people miss that when it comes to the management of coalition politics in Guyana.
Thank you so much. Coalition politics doesn't mean all agree at the same time. We saw what happened with the coalition government, disagreements behind the scene. Maybe some other time I'll talk about the fact that just prior to Charandas pulling that stunt on the entire nation, that the AFC, a big partner in the coalition, wanted to vote against the coalition budget. But that's another issue. It's not to be discussed tonight. Ms. Walton Desir, as we prepare to wrap up, foreign affairs in Guyana, and all these things. We see what Venezuela is doing. The immigration is a total mess. Discrimination in the immigration sector. Foreign policy, they just don't know what they're doing. They got a tadpole there, no pun intended, on his name. He is the Minister of Foreign Affairs, doesn't seem to know what he's doing, his head from his toe. And could expect that from Todd's as well, Tadpole. Good night to Mr. Todd if he's watching, not the Attorney Todd, but the Foreign Minister Todd, who was installed. But what would be your take as it pertains to Venezuela, as it pertains to immigration and other foreign policy issues in Guyana? Your microphone, please.
Sorry about that. Yes, for the time that I have been in the National Assembly, and with being an international lawyer by profession, one of the things that I've always adumbrated is that Guyana has to be very, very clear on what the national interest is. And when it comes to foreign policy, your flagship has to be your national interest. The PPPC has failed to define very clearly in their own minds, and even for the people of Guyana, what our national interest is. Having determined what that is, one of the issues or one of the approaches that I've adumbrated is that we look at our five urgent priorities for the foreign relations sector. And I've said those out very, very clearly. How do we manage the imbroglio with Venezuela and the border controversy? How we manage our relationship with CARICOM? How are we prosecuting the justness of our case with Venezuela internationally? And a number of these issues. How are we asserting ourselves as regional leaders, having credibility on the same issues at home? And so the mess that we find ourselves in is because PPPC does not understand that our national interest must be our North Star. For them, foreign policy and foreign policy positions continue to be rewards for favors done and jobs for the boys. And that mindset has seen the dwindling and the whittling away of the caliber of representation that we have had traditionally as a country here. On the issue of immigration, the PPPC has failed miserably. And, I've noticed Barry Jagdeo coming out with some utterances that almost sound as if he was not the government for the last 5 years. Oh, we will begin to look at this. We will begin to look at that. Well, why haven't you been looking at it? And particularly since in Parliament, we have been pointing out that there is no proper immigration policy, that there are unregulated migrants in our country in the numbers of hundreds of thousands. And the foreign secretary has since confirmed there are over 100,000 Venezuelans here. And you are now rushing to put in place ID cards, etc., for them. I noticed he said recently that they'd be putting in place ID cards for migrants. Well, why not do it now? The reason they're not going to do it now is because of the upcoming elections and the plans that they've had to pad the voters list using these very same people. So they failed at immigration. They have essentially allowed a soft invasion of our country, and they have no way of making sure now that they can register, regulate the movement of these Venezuelan migrants in the country, not because they're bad people and criminals, etc., but purely because this is a neighbor that we have a border dispute with, and these are people who genuinely, mistakenly, but genuinely believe that Essequibo belongs to them. And so they cannot be treated with the same within the same regime as any ordinary migrant, because the stakes are much too high. They have also failed at investing in the Essequibo. We must remember to populate is to govern. And to the degree that we continue to underinvest in Essequibo, to the degree that we stop incentivizing settlement in the Essequibo, is the degree to which we are giving up governance. I'll end by saying this. The I don't even want to say it's negligence because it was willful. This act that the PPP committed by opening up our registration of birth system in the manner that it has placed this country in clear and present danger of being undermined from within. And particularly because we live in a country where politically the margins are so narrow. You can understand the injection of 100,000 people here, allowing them to vote, how that skews the balance of power and possibly irreparably. And this is why when I say to people that the fact that we have a number of parties coming up and are able to attract candidates is actually a good thing if people would stop and analyze where we are going as a country. It is within the context of the changing dynamics of what we are going to be facing. We are going to be facing an influx of migrants because we do not have the labor force to push the development that will be required. How are we securing Guyana and Guyanese first? And we will, without apology, make sure that Guyana and Guyanese are foremost and secured. So this is why I have always called for and will implement a Guyana and Guyanese first migration policy, because the times are changing, and those who want to continue to be stuck in the past and to be stuck in the old paradigms will be unable to navigate this new future. We have to understand what is upon us as a country. We have to understand the windfall that is about to come our way. Mark, currently it stands at 10 million US dollars per day. Do we not understand that if we are to weather this, that the only way we are going to be able to do it is within a political system that actually works, where it is not a winner takes all system, where it is not a case where you get 51% of the votes and 100% of the power, and the rest of the population feels marginalized. If we are going to step into the fullness of what we have, we can't step into the future with the same old mindset. And that is the simple message of Forward Guyana, that this has to change. And it doesn't have to change for the sake of a party. It doesn't have to change for the sake of a collection of people. It has to change for the sake of all Guyanese, because the system needs to be changed. And like I said, like Drake said in the song, we have to be the cashiers. And I am quite prepared, and I said this publicly, to take the flack, to take the ridicule, to take all of the rumors and all of these things that have been perpetuated, because I'm very clear in my own head. And I'm surrounded by people who see this new future for Guyana, a future where our constitution is reformed so that there is shared governance. Since I am a little girl, we have been told, oh, constitutional reform is key, constitutional reform is key. And when people get in there, they get the sweet, and they do not do what might be the politically inconvenient thing, and make sure that our constitution is representative of Guyana as we see it. The way our constitution is set up, it depends heavily on the spirit and intent of the person who holds office. That is deleterious for Guyana, and it will forever open our people up to being manipulated and controlled. The secret to our future success is to build systems and to build political institutions that will see this country thrive and grow. So forgive me if I will reiterate that once again. My loyalty is to this country, and I will forever and unapologetically do what is in the best interest of Guyana. Because when I retire and I have to look at my grandchildren in the face and they ask me, Grandma, why did you not step up when it was important? I can look at them and I can say without fear that, you know what? I gave it my best shot. So, Mark, I want to thank you for having me. I think you said that was my closing.
Now, I never said that. In fact, I have a closing for you. And
Okay.
I know you guys have had a busy day, but I'll go to the prime ministerial candidate. Thank you so much for that response, though.
Uh-huh.
Mr. London, like as we look at all of the sanctions and sanctions and sanctions, Guyana is the only country that probably in modern day history that we've seen all those sanctions, from policemen to so-called business people and politicians, and all these sanctions upon sanctions. What is your take on that? That's one. And your closing remarks, in the event I missed a question, some point that you want to make, very briefly. Sanctions first. Your microphone, please. Yeah. We still can't hear you for some reason or the other. Maybe your mic has been sanctioned by Civic, who seem to have an affection for you tonight, Neville Sita. We still can't hear you. There we go. Go ahead, sir.
I hope that it's good.
Yeah.
Give me a thumb up if you can hear me, please.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Excellent. The fact that there's so many sanctions that are being, I call them doled out and rolled out, it testifies to the level of corruption and the extent to which it has found its way and weaved its way into our society. I cannot recall when a police officer of such high rank would have been sanctioned for drugs, for cocaine trafficking. I shudder to think that I've lived to see the day that these things happen in our country. And it has become so normal now that even a sanctioned individual is saying, well, I can be president of the country. That's how normal it has become for us. And as a result of that, we must understand as Guyanese that the USA has paid careful attention to how dealings were made in reference to these trans-border transactions that are happening and the ill dealings that have been going on in reference to our country for years, not for a few days. And we need to ask ourselves, why has the PPP been so deeply involved and associates of theirs so deeply involved in these corrupt practices? Something is terribly wrong with us as a society when we would not be alarmed by the extent to which a foreign entity has to tell us about how corrupt our internal structures are. Even more telling is the fact that Anil Nandlal sat to say, and he showed us by gesticulating, that he has in his hand the evidence. I know we speak, the evidence has been given to us to show how corrupt Azadin Mohammed has been. And to this day, the police cannot charge this young man. So what are you doing with it in your hand, Anil Nandlal? Is it that what's in your hand can implicate so many other people? So we as Guyanese must be wary of the fact that when the US speaks to how corrupt our society is, they know from across the pond, as they call it, how corrupt we really are. Now, what are we doing from within? The 1st of September becomes more important to us when we understand that corruption in any society is never beneficial towards its development. Because if you develop based on corruption, then you have to be maintained by the same practice. Why not have people with clean hands to whom no finger can be pointed, and let us have the freedom to be Guyanese? What I wonder is when the USA will mention to us their view of the Vice News interview in which Jack Dio clearly, based on our observation and many conclusions, implicated himself. When would they hear from it? It could be that they're waiting for the big fish to fry at the end of it all. But Guyana should pay attention. My closing remark would be that Forward Guyana movement is here as people with the true hearts of patriots. When I think about Amanza Walton is here, Darwin Bess, a young man who suffered at the hand of a very corrupt regime, who was imprisoned, went to jail because he refused to sign over his company to a corrupt individual based on his report. Forward Guyana movement is here to fight for the right of every Guyanese to enjoy that which our country has to offer. I've always said to you all that I believe in representation. I believe that Guyanese must be governed by representation, must be served through representation. And who better to deal with than those who have stood for you at all costs, even to the peril sometimes of our good name and our character. Let us not be fooled by those. And I'll use Lyndon as an example. It's painful to me, and I'll close with this. When I sat and I saw individuals in Lyndon who climbed up a stair to give speeches, but couldn't walk the street in defense of their own people. It's painful to know that when, for years I've been saying to these people, let's defend Guyana, let's defend Lyndon, they're doing wrong to us, look at the road, look at the bridge, look at this. And those people never showed up. But on Sunday, whenever it was, they showed up on the stage to give speeches. It tells me of their heart and what they're all about. I have never been about going on the stage. I've been about fighting for the right of people. So has my sister, so has others in the Forward Guyana movement. So we are here to be the change that we need to be. And we are that change because real change can't wait. And real change is right here.
Thank you so much, Prime Ministerial Candidate of Forward Guyana Movement, Mr. Nigel London. You like him? And let's go. And Mr. Eliakim, it's always a pleasure to have you on 107.1. Stranger, we want you guys to return before elections, September 1st it is. Ms. Amanza Walton is here. Before your closing remarks, your brief closing remarks, is Forward Guyana movement willing and ready to accept the results of the September 1st elections?
To say that at this point will be premature. We have been on record as indicating our discomfort with GCOM, with the arrangements, with the size of the voters list, etc. But the fact that we have still, we're still yet to hear from GCOM what they have done with the false IDs that we have discovered and they have admitted to. And so we were in the process of resolving those issues. So to say that would be very premature.
Thank you so much. In case we missed anything and you want to convince those who may be sitting on the fence or whatever that they should go out and vote for Forward Guyana Movement, here's your opportunity for just about a minute. Go ahead.
Well, first of all, Mark, thank you for the opportunity to be here. I want to reiterate that it is important to vote. I want to reiterate that it is important that we appreciate that everything that Guyana needs, everything that a Guyanese man, woman, or child needs to give them a good life has to be delivered within a system. And to the degree that that system remains broken, to the degree that that system remains a winner takes all system, is the degree to which we undermine our ability to achieve that in any meaningful measure. And so I am proud to stand with a group of men and women who are saying, you know what? Yes, our grandparents, our fathers, our mothers voted this way, but we recognize the need for change. We recognize the need for something different. We recognize the need for Guyana to evolve and grow in terms of our political infrastructure in the same manner that our economy is growing. And so for us, we are happy to offer ourselves. We're honored to offer ourselves up to the people of Guyana because that is all we can do. We can offer ourselves up. We cannot abuse, assault, demean people into accepting us. All that we can do is say, this is what we are saying to you. We have to have a change in this country. The paradigm has to shift because if Guyana is to grow and be all that she can be, we cannot tackle 2025 problems with a 1970s mindset. It will not work. It does not work. And, I will wrap up by saying this, Mark. Real change really cannot wait. And we're not just talking about change. We're talking about real, meaningful change. And to be able to do that, we have to have the hard conversations. We have to confront the paradigms. One of the paradigms is, oh, don't split your vote. My vote is my vote to be exercised the way I, as an individual, believe it should be exercised. Nobody has a right or a monopoly on my vote. And so, to the degree that we will tell people don't split your vote, is the degree to which we continue to impose upon our people the duopoly that has us right where we are. Respect Guyanese enough to say to them, go vote according to your conscience. But to say don't split your vote is disrespectful because you are saying to me that this right that my ancestors suffered for, died for, that women marched and protested to have, that somehow you are entitled to it. And I am not entitled to exercise my mind and my abilities and make an independent choice. And that is a paradigm that we have to confront. We have to reinforce the sovereignty of every individual to cast a vote in the manner that they see fit, because that is what was suffered and fought for. One man, one vote. One woman, one vote. To put wherever they feel compelled by their conscience to put it. And so, Mark, I want to say that in the Forward Guyana movement, we are interested in empowered Guyanese. We are not interested in disempowering Guyanese. And to do that, we are going to have to come up against the status quo, and we are quite prepared to do it. We are quite prepared to stand and be the voice in the wilderness saying Guyana and Guyanese. If we are going to change the future of this country, we cannot do the same thing over and over again and expect a different result. No,
Right.
Your vote must be respected. Your choice must be respected. And we will put our shoulders to the wheel. This is what we're pledging to do, to move Guyana forward. And we will be so honored. We'll be so honored if you would do that with us, because we're not here to play. We're here to stay. And so God bless you, Mark. And thank you all for having us on tonight.
Thank you all so much. I know you guys have a busy schedule ahead. You've had a busy schedule today. I'm tempted to squeeze one more question, but I'll stick to what I've said, that was the final question. Next time when the prime ministerial candidate is back on, he's no stranger here, neither are you, Ms. Walton is here. But I want to ask a question as to the claim that was made by Mr. London Eliakim that he has never voted. But we'll leave on that. Why you've never voted, we'll leave that for another time. But this time around, you're going to vote. This time
I
around,
didn't vote. I voted once. I voted once.
You voted once in Guyana or for the Teachers Association?
No, once for Desmond Hoy.
Okay. So, Miss Amanza Walton Desir, just a yes or no. Debate, presidential debate, yes or no?
Absolutely. We've called for it.
Yeah, presidential debate, guys. Thank you all so much. Appreciate your time and good luck on the campaign trail. Don't be strangers. Thank you all. Thanks.
Thank you.
And to all of our listeners as well, thank you all so much. We'll be back. Hopefully, we'll get some other candidates, maybe from APNU Coalition, and then we'll try to have Miss Simona Brooms. Yep. We want you guys to hear from all of the legitimate candidates, and we at 107.1 FM, we use the term legitimate candidates. Love you guys. God bless you all. Sometimes it's good to be a little mischievous, right? All right. Be back tomorrow, same place, same time. Don't forget reasons why you ought to vote the PPPC out of office. This is just one of the many reasons why the PPPC ought to be voted out of office come September 1st. God bless you.
PPP will take care of you from erection to resurrection. A quick one for you. And the last time I said that, somebody came up to me and said, man, you little bias. Erection is a man thing. What happened to the women? So I got a woman thing for you. And hear me, from the moment she slime up till you get caught up, we gonna take care of you. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, my name is Jacinty Caldata from Vietnam. And since 1965, I become a voter. And I always place my X next to the cup. And what they are doing today, I can't take it. So I have no more vote to give to PPP anymore. I'm not going to vote anymore no more. If they have to lose by one vote, they're losing it by data.
There and fabricate that. Unless you say who the person is, I can't comment on anonymous people.
Okay, well, let's talk about specific individuals. What is your relationship with Mr. Su Jurong?
Su? Oh, Su? My relationship?
I can't take it no more. I can't take it no more. Can't take it no more. Imagine 18 hours of blackout and you're telling people progress. Cost of living gone up 100%. Get your give public servant less. Mr. President, listen to the people. Search your soul and you will confess. I want you try survive
you could probably, on the maritime area, give Venezuela a channel out to the sea. So you make a slight concession in the maritime area